Hello and welcome everyone. Today we're going to take another look at using laser toner to create transfers on leather. 2 weeks ago I made a video with some leather samples that were sent over to the office using Forever Laser Dark and Forever Flex Soft papers and had some mixed results with each type. If you haven't seen that video, you can find a link in the video description down below. But in today's video, we're going to take a close look at the Paropy Hard Surface II, a paper that specifically lists leather as one of the materials it can work with. And then we're going to take another look at that Forever Laser Dark just to see if I did some things wrong, try it at some different temperatures and lower pressure. And then also we're going to give a shot to some of the UniNet iColor Premium samples that I still have laying around just to see how those would work with it. More information on each type of the leather samples can be found in the video description down below. I don't work with leather and I don't really wear it, so when someone comes and corrects me down in the comments below or by email, I can just update the information in the video description and everybody wins. This video's full color cyan, yellow, magenta, black, and white samples were printed using the iColor 600 printer from UniNet, and the white only samples that we're using today were printed on the HP M254 with a Ghost White toner cartridge. Both UniNet and Ghost toner cartridge have been specially formulated with the transfer process in mind, so you don't have to worry about your colors in your design getting darker when used with a heat press and, ruining the colors of your transfer like you would with some cheaper toners. So it's very important that if you're going to be doing transfers, you use a high quality one that has been made with this process in mind. So moving on from that, we've got my smaller cut samples here from the larger cuts. I used a lot of them in the first video. Sample number 1, here's black leather with a pebblish grain. It's got a smooth feel. Sample number 2 is the one that always gets destroyed by heat. As you're going to see, I'm not going to have much luck with it in this video. Sample number 3 is this nice, beautiful piece of brown leather. It's a little bit oily when heat is applied to it for a little while. Sample 4 is going to be what I call Rawhide. It works with everything. Sample 5 is a thicker version of that Rawhide. It's been great with everything too. It's got a little scorching mark left over from my first press. Sample 6 is when we get into the first flame retardant type of leather, and this stuff, works pretty well. Sample 7 is also flame retardant, just a little bit darker, but I'm going to press it anyway, just because I have it. So next we're going to take a look at the Paropy Hard Surface II papers, and this is a paper that you're going to want to print your image mirrored on, and you've got the blank side right here, and this is what you're going to print with your media settings on heavy glossy. The other side obviously you're not going to print on, and they put it labeled there, makes it easy to do. When you press the transfer, you're going to press it at 300 degrees Fahrenheit for 50 seconds, and then you're going to peel it hot. As you can see, I've already got some transfers printed and color, and then also an all white, as you can see right here when I skillfully move it and adjust the brightness of the camera. But yeah, so let's go ahead and get started pressing these. All right, as I just mentioned to you before, we're using the Paropy Hard Surface II paper, and then on sample number 1, I just want to make sure that I have the Paropy pressed down nice and flat, and I'm using my finishing sheet to do that. And I'm going to press it again for 50 seconds, which I have sped up here at 300 degrees Fahrenheit, and then we're going to immediately peel it hot, as you're about to see here. The first thing that you will notice when we are peeling back the transfers is that it leaves a glossy covering over the entire area that the Paropy Hard Surface Paper 2 was touching. This is because the release liner from the paper is actually transferring over to the leather to form a protective coating over the leather and the toner. It's also very important that you make sure that you put enough white underfilling toner so that your images pop on dark leathers like this, so that you can have beautiful images like those parrots and not terrible images like this Stroh's whatever it is that I had an image of. You can't see any of the red. The blue looks weird because there's no white underfilling layer. So very important when you're using that on these darker leathers. Sample number 2 is going to be the leather that I had the most trouble with because it got destroyed every time you applied heat to it. What you're going to see here is when I lift up the press is that the parchment paper looks wet in some spaces because the leather was actually very, very moist and was losing a lot of moisture, and you could hear it when I pressed it. And you'll notice that when I peel it back, yes, I did get some transfers, the protective layer transferred over, but watch when I peel this one. you're going to see that the toner didn't actually stick, and neither did the protective coating, because the leather started to boil and cause some air pockets to form underneath the toner and the transfer. I couldn't even get it when I tried it second time, because I wanted to make sure, and it just destroyed it every single time. And I had this issue a lot with this leather. So be very careful when you're pressing your leather. Make sure you press a small sample just to see how it reacts to heat, because clearly not every leather is created equally, as we just saw there. With sample number 3, this is the best stuff. If you're working with this pretty leather here, then you're going to be just fine using the Paropy Hard Surface II. I got perfect transfers. The only thing is, you can see that it kind of puts an imprint wherever the paper was into the leather. I tried, doing this with some lower pressure, but, I still had that imprint there. So just make sure you cover the entire area just like you would, so that you can get that glossy look across the entire thing, and then you don't have that imprint sticking out. So looks great. Let's look at sample number 4. As I mentioned in the preview, this stuff works great with everything, and it does. This is the hide type leather. I didn't have a single issue with this whatsoever. It's a lighter color, so you don't have to use as much white on the underfilling as you're about to see here, but the image that I did choose was a bright blue. But here's another image that I did with white underfilling. You can see that the blue gets a little bit brighter. So that's that one. Next, we're going to take a look at the leather sample number 5. Same thing as leather sample number 4, just thicker. Everything was good with the transfer, didn't have any issues. Again, it's very important that you test your leather samples before you stick them. Try pressing anything. Take a small piece, put it in your heat press. That way you make sure you don't damage anything. I did only have 7 different leather samples here, and I know there's a lot more leathers out there, so be very careful when you're pressing it, because you don't want to ruin anything expensive. So there you can see, got a beautiful transfer on everything there. Next, we're going to take a look at the flame retardant leather samples. This is sample number 6, and everything's going to transfer over to it nice and well. No damage from the heat, which is kind of what you want when you have flame retardant on your product. And it's a lighter color, so I had a pretty good transfer of the Stella. Not, color perfect, but again, those images are garbage. As you can see, there's white in the middle of the O and everything, because it's just a terrible image. Next, we're going to take a look at sample number 7, and like I said, this is also flame retardant, just a little bit darker, and it's a little bit more of the same. Got good transfers. You can see that the release liner transferred over. Didn't have any issues with that. So just a great paper to work with. If you're going to be doing leather, just make sure that your samples can handle it. And you can see when you put a white underfilling, you get beautiful pictures too. But that's it. That's pretty much all of the leather samples. You can see that we pretty much got successful transfers on all of them except that second sample. But again, like I said many times just a moment ago, make sure you test those. Next, let's talk about the Forever Laser Dark. I wanted to take a look at these again because, David Lewis from the White Toner Success Group suggested that I should try hitting them at a lower temperature and less pressure so that I didn't have those, marks all around there. Well, what I found is that the release liner sometimes will transfer over. And as you can see, look on sample number 3 up front, it's a little bit glossy wherever the release liner was. And so I had those issues. Then again, I thought maybe I was doing it with too much pressure and then too much heat, just like Mr. David Lewis told me. So I tried some other samples, and I got mixed results. I kind of got some transfers, but you can still see I have the outline, the release liner transferring over there, and I pretty much had that every single time on all my samples. So I couldn't get it to do. I think maybe it has a lot to do with the type of leather you're using. I did these with a lighter pressure. As you can see, I didn't even get the bird to even make the transfer. And, on all of these, I usually had a good transfer with on the Paropy. But with the Forever, I had some mixed results. I had a perfect transfer on the Beautiful Birds, buddy. And then, going to have a perfect transfer on this. But, on that one bird over there, I just didn't get it. Maybe, it was not as... There wasn't as much pressure. I don't know. I got a swing arm press. It's pretty even pressure throughout the entire thing. Next, we're going to take a look at the UniNet iColor Premium papers. We just wanted to do these because I had these samples laying around, and I had some squares of the leather, And, you know, two-step paper, this is a nice two-step paper that you apply at a lower temperature. I wanted to see how it would react. And I had some mixed reactions because, as you can see, a lot of the release liner is actually sticking and showing up on the, you know, most of the leather samples. On sample 1, 3, and 2, you know, I had the liner transfer over. On 4, and not shown, 5, and 6 and 7, I didn't have that release liner transfer over. So it's very important that you test a small piece of the transfer paper on your leather, because clearly you can see that everything reacts differently with the different types of leathers. So that's going to pretty much cover our leather. You can see tried to go pretty in depth as I could. I am out of leather samples now, so I don't have any more that I can, you know, cut down and press. But a big thanks to our customer for sending those our way. I really appreciate that, and it was fun to do these. Sorry it took me so long, but we got it done and we're good to go. So thank you all so very much for watching, and I appreciate every single one of you for watching. And if you subscribe, thank you. Take care. Have a wonderful day. You know, hopefully we'll have some new stuff out for you very soon.